We are the ministry of the real truth. Today, and the weeks to follow, we will attempt to go back in time, in history, to uncover, discover, and verify that all religions, i.e. the major three, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, and all the other deemed pagan religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, etc., from 5,000 plus years ago, originally were near similar until someone or a certain faction altered, rewrote, therefore corrupted all the religious texts, etc., according to the information that we came across in our personal research quite a while back. Now, where shall we begin? Okay, we speak English, so we can't understand Sanskrit, etc. So let's start with something in English. So we are aiming to learn all within the books that are presented us, that are available for a small donation by Hare Krishnas, etc. They offer on the street. We believe you should know it, you should own it. So if they ever come at you with all these claims, you can say, well, it doesn't actually say that, and it doesn't actually mean that. What it actually means according to your experts, it means this and it means that. So let's begin with the Bhagavad Gita as it is from the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust in Mumbai, and this is written by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder of Karya of the International Society of or for Krishna Consciousness. This is the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We will compare it with this copy that we obtained because somebody left it lying around at a job that we're working at and didn't come back and claim it. This is a complete edition, revised and enlarged, with the original Sanskrit text, Roman transliteration, equal equivalence, translation and elaborate purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Akarya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, bought by the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. So we're going to do a comparison with this one here online to see if it matches the one we have here in our residence, because sometimes you have these unknowingly edited versions. But it should be no problem, it should be the same. So inside it should have a contents page. Okay, critics praise Bhagavad Gita as it is. With over 5 million hardbound copies in print in over 24 languages, Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is the best-selling and most authoritative edition of this classic of world literature. Here are some comments on Bhagavad Gita as it is from some of the world's leading scholars. There is little question that this edition is one of the best books available on the Gita and on devotion. Prabhupada's translation is an ideal blend of literal accuracy and religious insight. Dr. Thomas J. Hopkins, Chairman, Department of Religious Studies, Franklin and Marshall College. And there's a couple more here. George Harrison and the Beatles may have been influenced by this particular guru. In this beautiful translation, Srila Prabhupada has caught the deep devotional spirit of the Gita and has supplied the text with an elaborate commentary in the truly authentic tradition of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, one of India's most important and influential saints. Dr. J. Stilson Judah, Emeritus Professor of the History of Religions and Director of the Library, Graduate Theological Union, Berkeley, and so forth. This is the second edition, as a reminder, revised and enlarged. It's dedicated to a certain person who helped with this translation. Contents page. Setting the scene. Although widely published and read by itself, Bhagavad Gita originally appears as an episode in the Mahabharata, the epic Sanskrit history of the ancient world. The Mahabharata tells of events leading up to the present age of Kali. It was at the beginning of this age, some 50 centuries ago. Okay, so 50 centuries ago? Really? That Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to his friend and devotee Arjuna. Their discourse, one of the greatest philosophical and religious dialogues known to man, took place just before the onset of a war, a great fratricidal conflict between the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra and on the opposing side their cousins, the Pandavas, or sons of Pandu. Dhritarashtra and Pandu were brothers born in the Kuru dynasty, descending from King Bharata, a former ruler of the earth, from whom the name Mahabharata derives. Because Dhritarashtra, the other brother, was born blind, the throne that otherwise would have been his was passed down to the young brother Pandu. And Pandu died at an early age. His 5 children, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula and Sahadeva, come under the care of Dhritarashtra, who in fact became for the time being the king. Thus his sons, and those of Pandu grew up in the same royal household. Both were trained in the military arts by the expert Drona and counselled by the revered grandfather of the clan, Bhishma. Yet the sons of Dhritarashtra, especially the eldest Duryodhana, hated and envied the Pandavas, and the blind and weak-minded Dhritarashtra wanted his own sons, not those of Pandu, to inherit the kingdom. Thus Duryodhana with Dhritarashtra's consent plotted to kill the young sons of Pandu, and it was only by the careful protection of the uncle Vidura and the cousin Lord Krishna that the Pandavas escaped the many attempts against their lives. Now Lord Krishna was not an ordinary man, but the Supreme Godhead himself, so he was supposedly a divine being, right? Who had ascended to earth and was playing the role of a prince in a contemporary dynasty. Sounds like he became a god in the flesh. In this role, he was also the nephew of Pandu's wife Kunti, or Pritha, the mother of the Pandavas. So, both as a relative and as the eternal upholder of religion, Krishna favoured the righteous sons of Pandu and protected them. Ultimately, however, the clever Duryodhana challenged the Pandavas to a gambling match. In the course of that fateful tournament, Duryodhana and his brother took possession of Draupadi, the chaste and devoted wife of the Pandavas, and insultingly tried to strip her naked before the entire assembly of princes and kings. Krishna's divine intervention saved her, but the gambling, which was rigged, cheated the Pandavas of the kingdoms and forced them into 13 years of exile. Upon returning from exile, the Pandavas rightfully requested the kingdom from Duryodhana, who bluntly refused to yield it. Duty bound as princes to serve in public administration, the 5 Pandavas reduced their request to a mere 5 villages. But Duryodhana arrogantly replied that he wouldn't spare them enough land in which to drive a pin. Throughout all this, the Pandavas had been consistently tolerant and forbearing, but now war seemed inevitable. Nonetheless, as the princes of the world divided, some siding with the sons of Dhritarashtra, others with the Pandavas, Krishna himself took the role of a messenger for the sons of Pandu and went to the court of Dhritarashtra to plead for peace. When his pleas were refused, war was now certain. The Pandavas, men of the highest moral stature, recognized Krishna to be the supreme personality of Godhead, whereas the impious sons of Dhritarashtra did not. Yet Krishna offered to enter the war according to the desire of the antagonists. As God, he would not personally fight, but whoever so desired might avail himself of Krishna's army, and the other side could have Krishna himself as an advisor and helper. Duryodhana, the political genius, snatched at Krishna's armed forces, while the Pandavas were equally eager to have Krishna himself. In this way, Krishna became the charioteer of Arjuna, taking it upon himself to drive the fabled bowman's chariot. This brings us to the point at which Bhagavad Gita begins with the two armies arrayed, ready for combat, and Dhritarashtra anxiously inquiring of Secretary Sanjaya, what did they do? The scene is set with only the need for a brief note regarding this translation and commentary. The general pattern translators have followed in rendering Bhagavad Gita into English has been to brush aside the person Krishna to make room for their own concepts and philosophies. The general pattern translators have followed in rendering Bhagavad Gita into English has been to brush aside the person Krishna to make room for their own concepts and philosophies. So does that mean there that they've altered it? Original version, they've altered it and put their own ideas, concepts and philosophies in there. The history of the Mahabharata is taken as quaint mythology, and Krishna becomes a poetic device for presenting the ideas of some anonymous genius, or at best he becomes a minor historical personage. But the person Krishna is both the goal and substance of Bhagavad Gita, so far as the Gita speaks of itself. This translation then, and the commentary that accompanies it, propose to direct the reader to Krishna rather than away from him. In this Bhagavad Gita, as it is unique, also unique is that Bhagavad Gita thus becomes wholly consistent, or completely consistent, and comprehensible, so it's fully understandable. Since Krishna is the speaker of the Gita and its ultimate goal as well, this is necessarily the only translation that presents this great scripture in its true terms, the publishers. Well, we hope so, because we're trying to go back in history, go back in time to these kind of books to verify that which we came across, that these religions, before they were corrupted, or these holy writings, before they were corrupted by certain groups, actually were pretty much in line or near in line with the other religions, i.e. Judaism, Islam, etc., God-wise. Preface. This must be the author, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who's writing this preface. I'm not really sure, just go ahead to see if it is him, because it could be wrong. Ah, yes it is. 12th of May 1971, Sydney, Australia. Must have done a down under tour. Way back then. Preface. Originally, Swami Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is in the form in which it is presented now. When this book was first published, the original manuscript was unfortunately cut short to less than 400 pages, without illustrations, without explanations for most of the original verses of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In all of his other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Isopanishad, etc., the system is that he gave the original verse, its English transliteration, word for word, Sanskrit English equivalents, translations and purports. This makes the book very authentic and scholarly and makes the meaning self-evident. He was not very happy, therefore, when he had to minimize his original manuscript. But later on, when demand for Bhagavad Gita, as it is, considerably increased, he was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form. Thus, the present attempt is to offer the original manuscript of this great book of knowledge with full parampara explanation in order to establish the Krishna consciousness movement more soundly and progressively. The Krishna consciousness movement is genuine, historically authorized, natural and transcendental due to its being based on Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is gradually becoming, or has gradually become, the most popular movement in the entire world, especially among the younger generation. It is becoming more and more interesting to the older generation. Also, other gentlemen or older gentlemen are becoming interested, so much so that the fathers and grandfathers of his disciples, Sri Swami Prabhupada, are encouraging us by becoming life members of our great society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In Los Angeles, many fathers and mothers used to come to see me to express their feelings of gratitude for his leading the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the entire world. Some of them said that it is greatly fortunate for the Americans that he had started the Krishna consciousness movement in America, but actually the original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself, since it was started a very long time ago, but is coming down to human society by disciplic succession. If he had any credit in this connection, it does not belong to him personally, but it is due to his eternal spiritual master, his divine grace, Om Vishnu Pada Paramaharsa, heck of a long name, Parivrav Jakara 1083, Srimad Bhaktisiddham Hanta Saravasti Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada. Wow, that's a long name. If personally he has any credit in this matter, it's only that he has tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any adulteration. Before his presentation of Bhagavad Gita as it is, almost all the English editions of Bhagavad Gita were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition. But his attempt, or the society's attempt, in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Their business was to present the will of Krishna, not that of any mundane speculator like the politician, philosopher or scientist, for they have very little knowledge of Krishna, despite all their other knowledge. When Krishna says, Man, Mana, Bhava, Mad, Bhakto, Mad, Yaji, Nam, Namaskuru, etc., they, unlike the so-called scholars, do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. Krishna is absolute, and there is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna in the system of parampara, disciplic succession. Generally, the so-called scholar, politicians, philosophers, and swamis, without perfect knowledge of Krishna, try to banish or kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Maya Vadabhasya, and Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad Gita from the Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such a blunder will be that the misguided student of Bhagavad Gita will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go back to home, back to Godhead. This writer and his society, Krishna Society's only purpose was to present this Bhagavad Gita as it is, in order to guide the conditioned student to the same purpose for which Krishna descends to this planet once in a day of Brahma, or every 86 million years, by the looks of it. 8,600 million years. Wow, what a great number. This purpose is stated in Bhagavad Gita, and we have to accept it as it is. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita and its speaker, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna first spoke Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some hundreds of millions of years ago. Okay, so it's probably mythical there. We have to accept this fact, or accept that as fact, is that what should I say? And thus understand the historical significance of Bhagavad Gita without misinterpretation on the authority of Krishna. To interpret Bhagavad Gita without any reference to the will of Krishna is the greatest offence. In order to save oneself from this offence, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was directly understood by Arjuna, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of human society and fulfilling the mission of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is essential in human society, for it offers the highest perfection of life. How this so is explained fully in the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, mundane wranglers have taken advantage of Bhagavad Gita to push forward their demonic propensities and mislead people regarding right understanding of the simplest principles of life. Everyone should know how God, or Krishna, is great, and everyone should know the factual position of the living entities. Everyone should know that a living entity is eternally a servant, and that unless one serves Krishna, one has to serve illusion and different varieties of the three modes of material nature, and thus wander perpetually within the cycle of birth and death. Even the so-called liberated Mayavadi spectacular has to undergo this process. This knowledge constitutes a great science, and each and every living being has to hear it for his own interest. People in general, especially in this age of Kali, that particular time, are enamored by the external energy of Krishna, and they wrongly think that by advancement of material comforts every man will be happy. They have no knowledge that the material or external nature is very strong, for everyone is strongly bound by the stringent laws of material nature. A living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus his natural function is to render immediate service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification, and there's a typo right there, so that's page 21. Let's have a look at that in this book, so we don't get confused or the wording wrong. Where are we? 21. People in general. Okay, it's not 21, is it? 2021. Okay, this doesn't seem to be the page. I'm going to get back to this book. Well, what it says here, by the looks of it, is by the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms which will never make him happy. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this, and he demands it. One has to understand the central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement, or their Krishna consciousness movement, is teaching the whole world this central point, and because they are not polluting the theme of Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for practical understanding, naturally, of Bhagavad Gita under direct guidance of the Lord. They hope, therefore, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as they have presented it here, and even if one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, they should consider their attempt a success. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, 12 May 1971, Sydney, Australia. Okay, so that was a preface. So before that, I'm going to go back, have a look at that again, see if it matches the book. That was the preface. This constitutes. Okay. This is actually on page 19. So yeah, the top here saying page 21 might be incorrect because there's probably something extra added at the beginning. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Just by the publishers. Actually, it's setting the scene. It shouldn't be affecting it like that. Setting the scene. Yeah, first is setting the scene, which is on page 13. It's 11, 12, 13. Okay, that's why, because of that contents page. Oh, never mind, just a minor thing. Okay, so I'm going to go back. To the introduction. Okay, here's a mantra. And it reads, I was born in darkness, ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Paripara, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Pt01, give me shelter under his lotus feet? And there it is in Sanskrit. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunatha Dasa and Raghunatha Bhatta, Kapala Bhatta and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna, and it carries on there, right? Some information here. Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gita Upanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady, or probably prior to this being printed and published, an American lady asked Srila Prabhupada, we're guessing, to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita available in English, but as far as the Swami knew, or had seen, not only in America but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative, because in almost every one of them the commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The spirit of, or maybe that's referring to the original manuscripts of it, the original writings. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If we want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whim or the direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the directions on the label or the directions given by a physician. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself. The speaker of Bhagavad Gita is Lord Sri Krishna. He is mentioned on every page of Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Of course, the word Bhagavan sometimes refers to any powerful person or any powerful demigod, and certainly here Bhagavan designates Lord Sri Krishna as a great personality, but at the same time we should know that Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all great Acharyas, spiritual masters like Sankaracharya, etc., etc., and many other authorities of Vedic knowledge in India. We've actually got that book, Searching for Vedic India. But this is referring to authorities of Vedic knowledge in India. The Lord himself also established himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, and is accepted as such in the Brahma Samhita and all the Puranas, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Bhagavata Purana, Krishna to Bhagavan Svayam. Therefore we should take Bhagavad Gita as it is directed by the personality of Godhead himself. Okay, so fourth chapter of the Gita, 4:1-3. the Lord says, and it's in Sanskrit, and it explains in English. Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to the Sun God, and the Sun God explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku, and in that way, by discipline, succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he is relating the supreme secret to him, because Arjuna is his devotee and his friend. The port of this is the Bhagavad Gita, is a treatise which is especially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the Jnani, the Chinani, the Yogi, and the Bhakta, or the impersonalist, the meditator and the devotee. Here the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making him the first receiver of a new parampara discipline succession, because the old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the Sun God to others, and it was his wish that his teaching be distributed and led by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So we see that Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, a direct student of Krishna, and his intimate friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna's. That is to say, he must be a devotee in a direct relationship with the Lord, with this particular Lord, Krishna, Sri Krishna, right? It's not saying, speaking of another Lord, like i.e. Buddha or Jesus. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he also has a direct relationship with the Lord. We have come across some people who claim that Krishna is Indian or Sanskrit or whatever for Christ, but then other people say no, it's not. It's a lot of rubbish. Okay, so any people that speak Sanskrit out there, etc., that know it's not. Yes, no in the comments below the video, right? We much appreciate that. Okay, so as soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he has also a direct relationship with the Lord. That is a very elaborate subject matter, but briefly it can be stated that a devotee is in a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of the 5 different ways. One may be a devotee in a passive state. 2, in an active state. 1 may be a devotee as a friend. 1 may be a devotee as a parent. 1 may be a devotee as a conjurer lover. Arjuna was in a relationship with the Lord as friend. Of course, there is a gulf of difference between this friendship and the friendship found in the material world. This is transcendental friendship, which cannot be had by everyone. Of course, everyone has a particular relationship with the Lord, and that relationship is evoked by the perfection of devotional service. But in the present status of our life, not only we have forgotten the Supreme Lord, but we have forgotten our eternal relationship with the Lord. Every living being, out of the many, many billions and trillions of living beings, has a particular relationship with the Lord eternally. That is called Svarupa. By the process of devotional service, one can receive that Svarupa, etc., etc. So our whole aim really is to find out, is there a similarity, was it near similar to all the other religions so many 100,000 years ago, etc. Okay, because obviously it's very mythical. Okay, it seems to be very mythical, but pushed as fact, established fact. Okay, that there was a Krishna, there's this Arjuna, and all this sort of stuff, right? And these pantheon of gods within this particular religion. Okay, is the writer, the author, Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder, Akira of ISKCON, and great exponent of Krishna consciousness in the Western world. Apparently, he had a couple of European disciples or followers, and on his deathbed he knew that he was dying, obviously, and he knew that they'd poisoned him, supposedly. He heard them whispering, is he dead yet? Did the poison work yet? Something like that. Yeah, we don't know if that's fact, but it's just something we came across online. And maybe that's somebody who's younger. Or is that somebody else? Somebody before him? Maybe. Masters before him. His masters probably. Okay, many different pictures there. Looks like there are many stages of life, from infancy or birth to being an older person. You die and you come back, and it's a cycle going on and on and on. Their reincarnation belief. Maybe you come back as something because you did something in the world, something wicked or something like that, so you come back as a certain being, creature or tree or something like that. The Lord descends whenever there is a decline in religious principles. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are all one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, they got all these. Was it a fish? Somebody on a horse, maybe it's Arjuna or something like that. Buddha. Looks like. Not sure if that's Moses or something like that. Not really sure who that is. But that's what it's saying. The Lord, or the Master, descends, the Divine Master descends whenever there's a decline in religious principles. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are all one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what are they trying to say? Jesus the Christ, God, Jesus the Christ, Buddha, Krishna, they're all the same. From that same Godhead. It states here, try to learn from the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Chapter 4, verses 34, page 262. Probably of the Bhagavad Gita. Humble sages, virtue of true knowledge. A transcendentalist engages his body, mind and self in a relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place, carefully controlling his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Chapter 6, verse 10, page 31. Do you think, as a believer in another religion, probably one of the major religions, that this kind of thing could help you? Not so much this other God besides the supposed one true God, whether you call him Yahweh, Jehovah, Hashem, etc., but this kind of technique that you put your body, mind, soul, heart, etc. into worship, your whole self, your whole being in relationship with the divine, with the Supreme God, that you should live alone in a secluded place, carefully controlling your mind, right? So you don't get tempted, all that sort of stuff. Free from desires and feelings of possessiveness, materialism, etc. So do you think that could be some sort of help? Like, if it's good, then how can it be evil? Okay, unless it's got some sort of evil behind it, right? A demon or something in the background, yeah, unseen, controlling things. Yeah, then that would be evil, wouldn't it? This is how they see the Supreme Being. It's not necessarily true or real. It may not exactly look exactly like that in reality, but this is what these people in India believe. That's what the God or the gods look like. Okay? That's their interpretation. So they have a vast pantheon of gods. Elephant gods, etc., etc. Here comes reincarnation, karmic payback, all that sort of stuff. At the time of death, the consciousness created by the living entity will carry him to the next body. If his consciousness is like that of an animal, he is sure to get an animal's body when he's reincarnated. So if you're a pig, a glutton, etc., etc., in your life, then you might come back as a pig. And you've had these sort of traits. These are qualities of a demonic nature. And so forth. Very interesting artwork. I remember sitting down with a claimed Brahmin, generational Brahmin, but he was in a private hospital because he had some health problems, etc. So he couldn't be. He used to give the Fijian Indians a hard time, saying, "Oh, you should be at my feet, licking my feet, or like a dog, all this sort of stuff." Real, not very nice stuff. He was saying to them, he was a patient at this hospital. Obviously, he was unwell. Used to sit down with him and watch these videos. He used to watch these Bhagavad Gita style videos of this Arjuna and somebody else shooting an arrow, and then the next one shoots 2, that guy shoots 3, 4, 5, this one shoots 10, 20, 30. Yeah, it's quite interesting. He was explaining it, so it's very, very interesting. And he once said to a friend, if your God, the God of the Christian, the Father of Christ, is real, then get him to heal my legs, because he had problems with his legs, and then I'll believe in your one God. And then he heard that there was a Brahmin, ex-Brahmin, next one's in line or something, coming to visit a church. He'd gone Christian or something, converted, and he wanted to go there, but no one would take him, because he knew that man, he knew his name, and he wanted to see him, but nobody picked him up and took him, which was quite sad. Okay, so we'd probably have to read this book in our own time to find something in there where this Prabhupada says originally, well, we already did, but again, we need to find it for ourselves, that originally it was written a certain way, but later people corrupted it and put their own philosophies and ideas in the Bhagavad Gita. Because we did come across something years ago that said it was very near God, the belief in God, before these people messed with it, corrupted and etc., etc. They all had this one God, but then later on they ended up with a pantheon of gods, like so many other religions. They start off with a one God, one God, or maybe 2 or 3 in a Godhead, and then over the centuries after centuries, or 50,000 years later or something, somebody messes with it and changes it. Okay, so they end up with a pantheon of gods. It's like ancient Egypt, when was it Aton? He dropped the pantheon of gods and embraced this monotheistic God. Supposedly it's been said that he's the father of monotheism, all that sort of stuff, but I don't think so. He dropped all these pantheon of gods in favour of this one God, the Sun God, but it didn't really take off. So when he died, apparently his son was told, well, if you want to sit on the throne, mate, you have to go back to the pantheon of gods that we had before, because that's what the people want. So to be able to sit on the throne, he did that. And there's much more to that as well. Him marrying his half sister or something like that, because believed in the writings that said, this god was androgynous, like both male and female or something, and he married his half sister or something. So this guy did the same thing apparently. It was in accordance to that Awi Hawass or something, that Egyptian Egyptologist in Egypt there that was accused of stealing the artifacts and selling them to other museums. He was knocked off his perch as Egyptologist, and Egypt's tourism dropped to an all-time low. Then they reinstated him and went back up. So obviously he was the man, and they probably dropped all those charges or accusations that he was stealing all the artifacts from the pyramids, etc. that he came across. He went and had a look at. Kind of a wild man as well. Like, someone forgot the sandwiches. They come out of the pyramid. He went to have lunch and there's no sandwiches because this guy had forgotten the damn sandwiches. So he went mental with that guy. They were like, was it 80 feet down or something? And the lady couldn't hold it. She had to go to the toilet, and she says, it's a long way back, hold it. She said, I can't. So she wee-weed in there. And he went mental, right? You just done it on a sacred pyramid, blah, blah, blah. And another guy told him, oh, your aliens built these pyramids. And he went absolutely bonkers. Yeah? It's all on film, etc., etc. Okay, so that's enough of that. We'll have to read this in our own time to figure out if there's any more notes or indications by this Swami Prabhupada that the original manuscripts to say had this one God or Godhead, very similar to your Christian Godhead. They're pretty much all similar, but somewhere along the way, in some century, these people changed it, messed with it, tampered with it, corrupted it, and put their own philosophies and ideas, etc. in there, as he mentioned in the beginning of this book. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, then give us a like after you subscribe to our channel, and then add your comments down below. We're most interested in those. And then go share this with your family, friends and others, simply so you can better understand it, rather than point your finger at someone and poke their eye out and say, oh, this is the devil, this is that, when you don't know nothing about it. You've only heard it, you're parroting it, you're giving lip service, you don't know nothing about it. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe to us, give us a like, add your comments below, and then go tell your friends and others all about this video.